They treated her like no one, but when they discovered her secret, power shifted. In a luxurious restaurant, where status and appearance define who is who, an ordinary woman arrives to shake things up. Distrusted by the staff and ignored by the powerful, she carries a secret that no one expects. While the arrogant manager and his loyal valet plot to humiliate a young receptionist, something bigger is about to happen. And when the truth comes to light, this restaurant will never be the same again. It was a hot and sunny afternoon, typical of summer, when Alicia parked her car at the entrance of the famous restaurant Lucille Blue. Her car, an old model with worn paint and rust spots, stood out awkwardly among the shiny, imported vehicles filling the parking lot. While the other cars gleamed in the sun, Alicia's car looked like a forgotten relic, something out of place. She stepped out of the car with the same calm she always maintained in uncomfortable situations. Her simple dress, though neatly pressed, contrasted sharply with the sophisticated outfits of the people around her. Her hair was tied in a practical bun, and her flat shoes further set her apart from the high heels and flashy accessories that dominated the scene. It was as if she belonged to another world, a subtle and calm presence amidst the ostentatious shine of the environment. Kevin, a young valet who had been working there for a few months, noticed Alicia as soon as she entered the parking lot. He was used to dealing with wealthy, demanding clients who insisted that their cars be treated with the utmost care. Seeing Alicia's car, with its worn paint, he frowned. A woman with a car like that would hardly be a customer of Lucille Blue. As Alicia walked toward the main entrance, Kevin quickly stepped into her path with a mix of disdain and impatience. "Ma'am, the service entrance is around the back," he said without even asking if she needed help. There was a tone of judgment in his voice, as if he already knew who she was just by the look of her car and clothes. Alicia stopped, looked him in the eye for a moment, and took a deep breath. "I would like you to call the manager, please," she replied, keeping her calm and showing no sign of discomfort with the way she had been treated. Kevin hesitated for a second, surprised by the woman's firm composure. However, he rolled his eyes and, with little enthusiasm, went to get the manager. To him, this seemed like nothing but a waste of time. A few minutes later, Thomas, the restaurant's manager, appeared. He was a middle-aged man, always serious, with an expression that reflected his sense of superiority. When he saw Alicia, he couldn't help but give a sarcastic smile. "How may I help you?" he asked, his tone making it clear that he didn't believe she could be a customer. Alicia remained calm, even in the face of his hostile attitude. "I would like to take a look at the restaurant," she said in a serene voice, as if unaware of the obvious disdain in his tone. Thomas, not hiding his disapproval, sighed and gestured for her to enter, but not before exchanging a condescending look with Kevin, as if they were allowing something they shouldn't. As she passed through the restaurant's doors, Alicia felt the eyes of several people upon her, judging every detail of her appearance. However, nothing in her expression indicated that she was affected. In fact, what appeared to be a woman out of place in that setting was there for a greater purpose, and that simple act of walking into that luxury restaurant was just the beginning of something that no one there could predict. As soon as Alicia crossed the entrance, she was greeted by a young receptionist named Emma. Unlike Kevin and Thomas, Emma had a welcoming demeanor and a kind smile. Her keen eyes quickly sensed the tension in the air. Although she didn't know what had happened, something about the situation seemed unusual. "Good afternoon, ma'am. Welcome to Lucille Blue," said Emma politely and kindly, maintaining her warm smile. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Alicia returned the smile, her expression calm. "I would like to sit and have a meal." "A quiet spot would be great," she replied, glancing around as if she were evaluating the environment at the same time. Emma noticed a certain calmness in Alicia, something that intrigued her. However, the discomfort in the surroundings was palpable, especially from her colleagues. "I hope the treatment I received at the entrance isn't common here," Alicia said firmly, but without raising her tone. Emma's smile faltered for a second, and a slight blush came to her cheeks. She knew exactly what had happened. It wasn't the first time that Thomas and Kevin had mistreated customers who didn't fit their idea of luxury. Although Emma didn't condone it, she rarely had the chance to act against her superiors. "I am very sorry, ma'am. I can assure you that all customers should be treated with respect, said Emma, genuinely uncomfortable, though she knew the mistake wasn't hers. Alicia gave her a warmer smile. I believe you. Please show me the way. Emma led Alicia to a discreet table near the window. The environment around was sophisticated, but the spot Emma chose offered a serene view of the garden, something that matched the tranquility Alicia exuded. As she poured water and explained the menu attentively, Emma knew she was being watched by her colleagues. Across the room, Kevin and Thomas exchanged irritated glances. Why is she going out of her way for that woman? Kevin grumbled, barely hiding his frustration. I bet she won't even be able to pay the bill. Thomas, who prided himself on keeping control over his staff, didn't like seeing Emma giving so much attention to someone who, in his opinion, didn't deserve it. She'll learn that this place has rules, he said in a calculated tone. And one of them is not to treat just anyone as special. Emma, unaware of her colleagues' schemes, just wanted to ensure that Alicia was treated with the respect that all customers deserved. However, she sensed that something bigger was happening, something she couldn't fully understand. While Alicia waited calmly for her meal, Kevin and Thomas continued to watch from a distance, clearly annoyed by the attention Emma was giving to a woman who, in their view, shouldn't even have been allowed into the restaurant. Why is she trying so hard to please this woman? Kevin muttered impatiently. I bet she can't even afford the bill. Thomas, ever the strategist, surveyed the dining room with a calculating expression. Emma is still too naive. She thinks she can treat anyone here as if they're special, he said, crossing his arms. We need to teach her a lesson. Kevin raised his eyebrows, surprised but also intrigued. What do you have in mind? Thomas glanced toward the storage area and began formulating a plan in his mind. We'll expose Emma publicly. She needs to understand that this place has rules, and we control what happens here. Kevin grinned maliciously, anticipating what would come next. Later, as Alicia was still seated, Thomas approached Emma and, in a loud voice, drew the attention of everyone around. Emma, we need to talk now, he said with a fake smile. Emma, surprised by his abrupt tone, looked at him. What's going on? I've received complaints that products are disappearing from the storage area, and you've been seen in there without permission, Thomas accused, clearly intending to cause public embarrassment. Emma was stunned but didn't allow herself to be intimidated. I've never taken anything from the storage area without permission. This is a misunderstanding, she said, trying to remain calm, though her voice trembled slightly. Kevin joined in, adding, I saw you leaving the storage area several times, Emma. Some of the customers began to glance over at the commotion. The tension in the dining room was rising, and the spectacle that Thomas and Kevin had staged was intended to undermine Emma's credibility. Alicia, who had been quietly observing until then, realized that the moment to act was approaching. As the situation between Thomas, Kevin, and Emma escalated, the kitchen door swung open, and Marcos, the head chef, strode into the dining room with determined steps. Marcos was known for both his culinary skills and his strong moral authority. He was not a man of half measures and hated injustice. What's going on here? Marcos asked, his deep voice echoing in the room. He looked directly at Thomas, who still wore a fake smile. I'm handling a serious issue, Marcos. Some products are missing from the storage, and I have reason to believe that Emma is involved, Thomas said, trying to sound convincing. Marcos frowned, clearly irritated by how things were unfolding. Are you accusing someone without evidence? Marcos questioned, his voice firm. I work with Emma every day, and I've never seen anything that would justify this kind of accusation. Kevin, always eager to support Thomas, tried to interject. I saw it with my own eyes, Marcos. She was in the storage area several times without authorization. Marcos wasn't swayed by Kevin's words. If you have proof, present it. Otherwise, you're slandering a colleague, Marcos said, turning to Thomas. And you, Thomas, should be more careful before publicly accusing someone. Thomas, realizing he was losing control of the situation, glanced around and saw that some customers were watching the scene with disapproval. His plan to humiliate Emma was beginning to fall apart, and he knew he needed to act fast. Alicia, who had remained silent until that moment, studied the reactions around her, ready to intervene at just the right moment. The entire restaurant seemed suspended in a growing tension. The eyes of the customers were fixed on the escalating exchange of accusations between Thomas, Kevin, and Marcos, while Emma tried, in vain, to defend herself. The atmosphere, once sophisticated, was now heavy with the discomfort of a public humiliation unfolding like a spectacle. It was at that moment that Alicia, who had been a silent figure in the corner of the room, decided to act. She rose from her table with elegance, without haste, and walked slowly toward the group of employees arguing. Her steady and composed pace drew everyone's attention. Alicia's calm demeanor sharply contrasted with the tension in the air. When she arrived, she spoke in a soft but authoritative voice. "I think I've seen enough." Thomas, visibly annoyed by the interruption, turned to her with a confused and irritated expression. "And who exactly do you think you are to interfere in something that's none of your business?" he asked, with the arrogance he usually used to assert his authority. Alicia didn't answer immediately. With a calm gesture, she pulled an envelope from her bag and handed it to Thomas. "Read this," she said, crossing her arms. Thomas, even more confused, took the document and began reading. As his eyes scanned the words on the paper, his expression began to change. The confidence on his face was quickly replaced by shock and disbelief. He read the document again, and then a third time, trying to process what was happening. Kevin, watching closely, frowned. "What's the matter, boss? What does it say?" Alicia, seeing that Thomas was speechless, decided to end the suspense. "What it says is that I am the new owner of this restaurant." The silence that followed was deafening. Everyone in the dining room, both employees and customers, was stunned by the revelation. Thomas, who had treated Alicia with disdain just moments before, was now standing before his new boss. "And I've just made an important decision," Alicia continued with the same calm, unrelenting tone. "Thomas and Kevin, you're both fired. There is no room for disrespect in this restaurant." Kevin tried to protest, his voice trembling, but Alicia cut him off. "There's nothing more to discuss. You're both dismissed. Leave the restaurant immediately." Alicia's revelation echoed through the restaurant. The room, once filled with murmurs and whispers, now sank into a heavy silence. Thomas and Kevin, stunned, could hardly process what had just happened. Their once arrogant expressions were now replaced by sheer shock and disbelief. "Fired," Kevin murmured, as if talking to himself. He tried to come up with an excuse, something to reverse the situation, but his mind seemed blank. Thomas, on the other hand, looked at Alicia with a mix of desperation and submission. "Ms. Alicia, I never meant to disrespect you. There must have been a misunderstanding." "I can explain," he began, his voice hurried, almost pleading. Alicia interrupted him with the same calm firmness she had displayed from the start. "There is no misunderstanding, Thomas. You had the opportunity to treat everyone here with respect, and you chose to act otherwise. Now you're facing the consequences." Emma, who had been visibly shaken by the accusations, looked at Alicia with a mixture of relief and surprise. She had never imagined that the woman, treated with such disdain, was actually the true owner of the restaurant. Alicia turned to Emma, offering her a gentle smile. "Emma, I want to thank you for the way you treated me. Despite everything, you maintained your dignity and professionalism. That's what this restaurant needs." Emma, overwhelmed with emotion, tried to respond, but her words faltered for a moment. I don't even know what to say." "Thank you so much," she said, her eyes brimming with tears. Alicia smiled once again. "From now on, you'll be the new manager of Lucille Blue. I trust you'll do an excellent job, ensuring that this restaurant remains a place where everyone is treated with respect and dignity." Emma could hardly believe what she was hearing, and some of the other employees looked at her with admiration. The atmosphere, once suffocating, began to shift. Alicia then turned to the customers, who had been watching the scene with growing curiosity. "I apologize for today's disturbance, but I needed to ensure that this restaurant is a place where everyone, without exception, is welcomed and treated with respect." With those words, Alicia not only corrected the injustice she had witnessed, but also set a new standard for Lucille Blue. It would no longer be just a luxurious restaurant. It would be a symbol of dignity and inclusion, a place where the value of people was not measured by their appearance or wealth, but by mutual respect.